Hey, the internet, y'all got us all the way up. We met that dude, Duke the Jeweler, the night before. We was down. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage. Dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot. That's when somebody tried to kill him.
He's the one that's tied to the dude that makes the loaded dice. Right? Check the play out. All entertainers, when you go to Houston, stay away from Jay Prince Jr. The whole play going on. Here go the play right here. The play is a loaded dice.
Blood red dice, a velvet table, and phony grins everywhere. But there was a sinister undertone to the laughter. Duke the Jeweler did not just venture into peril. It was all around him. He wasn't some shady businessman, self-made, well-respected and brimming with success. He was a Chicago legend, however, that was irrelevant. Someone had already made up their mind, and there were plenty of sharks in that room. It wasn't a random hit. People claim, no back alley, no getaway car, no ski mask. When Duke exited Boosie's dice game, everyone was grinning. The type that conceals shrewd aim. They were dapping him up one moment. Then they were sending out non-deceptive signals. These are the indications that the federal government is now closely monitoring. And you know who's causing trouble? 50 Cent reposting mysterious messages, receipts, and overt hints that this may have been a far larger setup than anyone had anticipated. This is where it gets cool. Though, Duke was the focus of attention at a mob ties game sponsored by none other than Jay Prince Jr. Just 2 weeks prior to Takeoff's tragedy at another dice game. And the entire room changes all of a sudden when the wrong guy starts winning. Eyes change, smiles vanish, the entire circle is being scrutinized, including Lil Cam, Jay Prince Jr., and Boosie. What started out as murmurs on the street is now becoming a full-fledged investigation. Was it, therefore, simply bad luck? Or had the table been set up before Duke had even taken a seat? Duke wasn't merely giving emerging rappers diamond necklaces in order to gain influence. He was creating one-of-a-kind sculptures for well-known industry figures. He had $1 million duffel bag full of cold heat, a brand, and a reputation. It wasn't for sightseeing when he landed in Houston. Rumor has it that Bowie personally summoned him to discuss business, something unique or something exclusive. Duke then drew up all in. He was unaware, however, that this excursion might be his last lap of the game. Let's examine in detail what actually transpired at the dice table. Wasn't your typical dice game, based on audio that was released and connected to WAC 100 Yes. Direct street-level intelligence. It was allegedly decorated to look like a celebration. Insiders now refer to the situation involving Jay Prince Jr. as a loaded dice ring. The same names keep coming up: Wolf, Big Capri, and Little Cam. A close-knit group that rotates the dice as if it were a secret right. Unless someone stumbles, the odds are always stacked against you. And that's just what happened. Wack asserts Duke managed to catch the switch. He began piling substantial sums of money after rolling past the decoys. Hundreds at first, then thousands, and it continued. However, when you defeat a system that was not designed to be won by outsiders, its creators become anxious. What follows? The atmosphere changes. Let's discuss how this evening descended into pandemonium from luxury.
I stayed so even when I got my chain stuck. Go through hard time, you know that was made us. Can't play much, we not speaking, that was paid us. Yeah, never if I thought it niggas laid up. I call kid, I get the pressure, more with a mom. I can't get that wrong,
The insiders claim that on dice evenings, Junior keeps 30% of the whole pot. Therefore, it wasn't merely a fortuitous streak when Duke began cleaning up and stacking victories. The wallet of someone was being tampered with, and Duke's boisterous, self-assured, iced out, and unrepentant movements that evening. He was filming every second for the grams, throwing money as if it were nothing, and dripping in diamonds. However, suddenly things begin becoming strange. There is a particular scene that jumps out if you slow down the video from that evening. A quiet whistle is blown by Boosie, just enough to draw notice, nothing spectacular. His nephew immediately turns and looks directly at Duke. Then, as if sending a quiet message, a man wearing a red sweatshirt taps the nephew's arm nonchalantly. And the whole room feels different after that. Duke is still energized, he's throwing dice, laughing, and making jokes. However, the air seems to have thickened, the smiles had changed. The room became chilly. The night then takes a gloomy, irrevocable turn a few minutes later. This was more than a gut instinct. Everything was conveyed through body language. Considering that when you enter a room full of people who have already decided behind closed doors, you can sense it in your bones. The true question is this: why would millionaire Boosie invite someone wearing over $1 million worth of jewelry to a dice game with no apparent security and erratic energy? And for someone who was clearly out of town and carrying that much weight, why didn't J. Prince Jr. arrange for any protection? It doesn't add up. Let's go back to when Duke walked out of the dice game after spending hours in a room full of diamonds and millions of dollars. Duke was going alone across a dim Houston parking lot without any security, crew, or driver. If you think something sounds odd, it is. But at this point, the situation shifts from dubious to downright unsettling. A few minutes later, mayhem breaks out. There is an ambush on Duke. However, what follows completely changes the plot. Most of the time, when someone is being targeted, cash and jewels are the first items to vanish in such a situation. Not this time, though. Every piece was still on Duke when he was discovered. Nothing came into contact, nothing, not the designer, nor the jewels. What sort of robbery, then, leaves 7 jewelry figurines behind? Duke was still wearing the same things that he had flashed during Boosie's show just hours earlier.
He was walking to his car, some dude tried to rob him. Some dude tried to rob him. Some dudes that tried to rob me and walked off by himself. I had just met dude yesterday. Been trying to rob dude must ain't get up.
Like Zach, we're to departure flight to this place, Bath County.
Just met dude.
The true eye-opener, however, was the Louis Vuitton duffel bag that contained his unpublished, one-of-a-kind jewelry designs. It vanished from the scene and then magically reappeared inside Boosie's house. Yes, the Houston Police Department has confirmed that. It's unclear whether Duke gave the bag to Boosie for protection during the dice game or if it arrived in some other way, but the fact that it returned is undeniable. Duke didn't. Additionally, in a shaky Instagram live from a private jet, Boosie responded by saying he hardly even knew Duke, claimed that Duke simply left. No one is happy about that, though. Hold on a minute, Boosie says he hardly knew Duke. But didn't he indicate that Duke was going to make him a special piece? After inviting a man to a private dice game and observing him flashing more than 1 million pieces of jewelry, you let him go alone in the dark to his car. That story doesn't make sense. Additionally, it becomes even more sloppy. The entire mood of Boosie's Instagram live. He was pale, nervous, uneasy, unconfident, and obviously unprepared for the questions that were being thrown at him. And the drama didn't peak when you expected it would. Already watching buoy for unrelated legal turmoil, the feds took action. They took Duke's case from the backlog and launched a separate federal investigation into it. This implies that there will be no more holdups, no more evasion of other charges. Simply a laser-like focus on the specific events of that evening. What did they do then? What do they always do? Follow the last signal from the phone at Boosie's recording studio. Duke's phone made its final ping sound, and someone in that circle brought it bravely. Unless Duke's phone had legs and walked there by itself, no attempts to remove it, no harm. After that, it simply went dark, manually switched off. The feds locked in at that point, searched Duke's rental car next. Guess who appeared when fingerprints were retrieved by forensics? Boosie's nephew, Boosie's relative. Identical names, same circle. Then one of the witnesses appeared. There was a smoker outside the building, claimed to have seen Duke approaching his car by himself, before Boo's nephew showed up from the side, seemingly waiting in the cut. Everything appeared peaceful and regular, according to the witness. Duke appeared to feel uneasy and made an effort to defend himself, attempted to push back and swung first.
He was in a garage. He must have walked outside to the parking lot. He was in a garage. We heard the But it's like they was far away in the parking lot. Must have went to his car or something, bro. Dude was finna make a piece for the cheap. Hey.
However, what transpired next did not appear to be a robbery. The $1 million jewels remained undisturbed. The Louis Vuitton bag was retained, and there was no haste to seize chains or scramble for luggage. It had nothing to do with money. Control was at issue here, and their subsequent actions, as if they didn't even mind who was observing. That isn't only careless, that's brave. Who do you think caught it all? 50 Cent. He has been publishing connecting dots, subtle messages, and receipts. Because that same caution is usually present in Houston when visitors arrive, be sure to check in. It's not in contracts or in writing. Trust, however, is genuine. Influencers, artists, and even professional sports are aware of the unwritten rule. It is expected that you check in with Jay Prince Jr. if you are traveling through Houston. And the circle of Mob Tie, if you don't check in, you're taking a chance that you don't want. However, this is when things become quite awkward. What happens if you find yourself in need of protection from the same people you're checking in with? Let's just call it that. That dice game was hosted by Jay Prince Jr. Duke stepped into the same room with the same host and energy. Not to mention that the game where Takeoff's tragedy occurred was hosted by Jay Prince Jr. only 2 weeks later. At that point, the entire check-in culture began to smell like a setup rather than safety. Why didn't two well-known figures leave Jay Prince Jr.'s events if he really did run the city? As he claims to, WAC 100 had to be heard. He also didn't. Hold back, called it a complete fraud arrangement. During private dice games where the vibe quickly changes, said entertainers are enticed in, made to feel comfortable, and then surrounded. The industry is now starting to take notice. Labels are quietly canceling shows in Houston. Some artists are completely canceling their visits. It's beginning to feel radioactive and toxic. 50 Cent, meanwhile, is out there refusing to keep quiet, reposting videos, and making mysterious captions that don't reveal identities but also don't conceal them. He's going too far. According to some claim that he is the only one with the courage to speak what everyone else is muttering. Because it is no longer just about dice games at this point. It concerns who is actually making decisions behind closed doors.
Even WAC 100 couldn't stay silent.
The entertainer invites him in, act like he's cover for him, hanging out, everything is cool. Let's go here, let's go there, let's go here, let's go there. He introduces the dice game. He got 3 mothers, right, who rotate the dice. Now these dice is loaded. Tell me it's a Wolf, Big Caprice, and watch this, and Little Cam are the loaded dice rotators, right? He said what? There was a situation that occurred that a certain jeweler drowned and got past the dice on accident and was hitting on them for a couple hundred. They got irritated about that. I ain't gonna go too far into that story because, right, boom, the only way they could get their money back was money back. He said, but Lil Cam, Wolf, and Big Caprice are the 3 designated to say I'm up, I got the next, and they pass the dice to each other, but they loaded, but they shooting.
Bowie is spiraling, according to sources. It's not just the feds circling, they're getting closer. Boosie's previous gun charges have been removed from Duke's case, and they are now focusing on that one particular night, the one where everything went wrong. They have already begun to delve deeply. They are tracking his son's digital footprint, his wealth, and his houses. However, the most outrageous aspect is that the sound may originate from his own circle. Rumor has it that Boosie's girlfriend informed someone that he fled back inside that evening, visibly trying to conceal something, looking shaken. He continues to pretend as though he knows nothing, though. Like a screenplay. He keeps saying the same things. No one is buying it. The question is now loud. Who is Boosie dragging with him if he goes down? Boosie doesn't move by himself. The name of his nephew is mentioned, his cousin as well. Additionally, he is currently involved with Jay Prince Jr., who is already in the public eye because of the Takeoff incident. All of the threads are pointing back to that dice table. As the web begins to collapse, it becomes even more twisted just when you think it can't get any more. Twice, finesse. Mob Ties is currently supporting a different artist than the one they once proudly supported. He would yell out Jay in each interview. Prince Jr. he hardly mentions a man's name anymore. Silence isn't that, distance is that, and can you guess where it all supposedly began? A female. Not just any woman, though. Finesse's baby mother, the gossip, together with her mother. She lined him up, contacted the police, and had him placed back on probation, transgression. Finesse severed his ties to the mob after that. There were no more shows. Hanging backstage is over. Only shadow and silence. And guess who quickly intervened to free Finesse by pulling strings? Jay Prince Sr. himself behind the scenes. Quiet calls were placed within 2 weeks. Finesse was once again walking freely. However, rather than lying, Finesse immediately returned to the same woman who supposedly got him locked up in the first place. Either in deference to the man who made it happen or low. Senior lost it at that point and vented on Twitter. I told the homie to stay the fuck away from that woman if he cares about his life. But he didn't want to listen even after I stepped in to get him out, he said, boasting about his ample chest. There's no reason for you to believe that these women are constantly out there with good intentions.
The jeweler. I gotta do my research, see what jeweler might have been down there shooting nights. But nevertheless, to all the entertainers, you know, Dukes of Hazzard was one of my favorite shows. Right? I don't know if y'all watched it. I'm thinking about Daisy Duke for a reason. I don't know why I say that. You know, one might go with it, may not go with it, but I don't know. The math is math and let it math. But entertainers, beware. Oh, with Jay Prince Jr., when he talked about let's go shoot some dice. Because the loaded dice crew at 3 Cam Wolf and Big Caprice. We know Lil Cam in there because I believe somehow, some way, he's caught up in the dice situation. Rest in peace, Takeoff. I don't know what's going on. But what I do know this, Jay Prince Jr. got a whole thing that when y'all come into town, hold on, bro. Didn't they say Fifth Ward earlier that day shooting dice?
Yep, that's a fact. That word been out, wet. That word been out. We been had that demo.
And then, so they've been getting hit all day and got to the joint at the game. They were like, Daddy, it's a dice. That's what this nigga Jay Prince Jr., boy, these niggas got all kind of shit going on down there. They say, he said the jeweler nigga got past the dice. He didn't even know the motherfuckers was loaded. He just think he hit. These niggas is mad at the motherfuckers. They like, nigga, how you pass this nigga the loaded dice on us?
Things became even more chaotic right after that post. Just as many were starting to recover, something wild began to whisper through the streets. There have been rumors that Jay Prince Jr. may have had an affair with Finesse's girl, and even gotten her pregnant. Is it verified? The number, however, it says volumes that people believe that, and that Finesse hasn't refuted it in a single word. While some fans dismissed it as rumors, others are beginning to notice a trend. Jay Prince Jr. and Takeoff's family are set to be at odds. Tension and silence with Boosie. Finesse is now obviously putting himself at a distance and going through it in public for the second time. Every bridge surrounding mob ties seems to be gradually burning down one by one. The frightening thing comes next when your entire brand is based on quiet, control, and allegiance. The code can be broken by a single person after one witness, one artist, and one irritated friend. The empire is no longer untouchable, it's breaking. The true question today is who will break first. Will Boosie come clean at last for his own protection? Will Finesse reveal the secret he's been keeping? Twice? Alternatively, would 50 Cent continue to exert pressure until Jay Prince Jr. commits the unimaginable and violates the code of keeping quiet to protect his reputation? For without a doubt, the fall has already started. Additionally, the whispers are evolving into knocks on locked doors. Everything is now being watched by federal officials. They are going over Boosie's entire estate holdings, including his Georgia farm and Baton Rouge residence. Every dollar and transaction is being tracked. This isn't no longer merely an inquiry, it's monitoring. Additionally, don't misunderstand, it's not just about being drunk. The name of Jay Prince Jr. is also entangled in it. The music game is responding quickly. Artists are retreating. Deals are being quietly pulled by labels. The atmosphere surrounding mob ties is changing. This isn't typical rap drama. It feels like a complete unraveling now. The wildest portion comes next. According to reports, there is security film, phone cameras, and other evidence that could reveal to Duke what actually transpired that evening. If even one individual sells the clip to TMZ, or the federal government or releases it to the public, that's it. Checkmate. Furthermore, nobody is doing